three parts of the webinar for today, and it's going to appear on your screens in a moment. So the first part will be looking a little bit back on where we are and where we have been. The second part, we'll be looking at some examples for change-making approaches from different organizations. And the third part that we want to focus on is called Action Lab. So we want to have a moment of sharing where we would start to share about what actions we already took and what are the things we could do either together or as individuals. So I will pass on to Rahel to start us up with the challenge of going home.
Thank you so much, Eva. Could we have the next slide? Good, wonderful. It's so nice to spend time with all of you again after coming home and being back in our own realities. And what I would like to do with you now is to take you on a time travel. Okay, so for those of you who like closing your eyes, you can do that right now and just follow me on this small trip back to Paris. So please think back on when you decided to go to Paris, to the youth workshops and symposium. Think about arriving at the venue, the youth hostel, checking in. Think about the first evening at the speed dating with Maureen. And then think about getting to know your track, your peers, the first discussions. You might also remember the stressful times when we had to come up with recommendations. You can think about visiting the city, visiting Paris, the Eiffel Tower, having fun with the whole group. Of course, I also would like to take you back to the Saturday, the symposium. Remember the room at UNESCO, the people, the atmosphere, the great talks and the great discussions that we heard. Let's go back together to the gala dinner. The food, the people, the music, the dancing, the wonderful atmosphere that we spent together there. And I would also like to take you back to saying goodbye, to leaving, to traveling back to your country, or to keep on traveling. Some of you are still on the road from what I know. And then finally, I would like to take you to the moment of getting back to your home, to your place, to your work, to your studies, to your reality. All right. Thanks for traveling with me. It's always nice to be able to time travel. For me, it has been a very nice thought to just go back in time to this wonderful week that we spent together. And with that, could we have the next slide, please? I cannot really get the next slide, but I hope to do so soon. If in the meantime, here's already the question I would like to ask you, and you can answer in the chat function, and we will then also share the answers with everybody. So tell us, what was your favorite moment in Paris? Something that you will not forget. Let's see if there's any answers already coming in the chat. So please just add them in written form. Eva, do you see any answers just yet in the chat function?
Not yet, but I can see there's more and more people also signing in. So I guess people are also writing.
Well, maybe you can tell me about your favorite moment in Paris.
Ooh, there was so many. You mean the one when it was all over? My favorite moment was Saturday morning for sure at UNESCO. I I felt yeah, it felt amazing to see the outcomes of the work that we all did together, and knowing how in a way short time we had, and how great the outcomes were. So I really enjoy that. Yeah.
Great. And I see some answers
And
coming in now. Omer is saying that his favorite moment was when we all got passionate and bounded around the recommendations. So that was definitely a very powerful moment. Um, we have Camila saying that her highlight was meeting like-minded people who have the same passion as herself. Eva says Saturday morning was also her highlight because it was magic at the moment. Elif is saying that seeing her group on stage presenting the recommendations and all the work that was behind it was really a great moment for her, and that she felt very proud. And finally, Bernd says that the whole Saturday was a highlight, and that getting up at 5:45 was definitely worth it, and going to bed at 4 as well. And we have two more answers that came in just in that time. And also Hernan says that to see that the recommendations were somehow in line with what others said in the afternoon at UNESCO was very nice. Julian enjoyed the time we spent together on Saturday morning. And Sonia is focusing really on saying that it was great to connect with others and build relationships. Thank you so much, everybody, for sharing your favorite moments. I thought about it myself, of course, and I really could not choose one. So I'm glad that all of you had such great answers to this question that I came up with. Myself, I feel that it has been one big highlight, and I really like thinking back on it. And with that, I think we can move to the next slide. So I think we all still do remember quite well the wonderful atmosphere and this great motivation we had in Paris. However, it can be quite challenging to then go back to your own reality and to sit in your room, which might look like the one on the picture, to go back to your job, to go back to your studies, and to just not have this environment anymore around you where people support you, have the same passion, the same ideas. So with that, we can move to the next slide. We as a team felt that it was very important that we also address this challenge of going home. And I thought I could just ask around how people are feeling. So I got some very nice answers from participants and trainers and everybody who was involved. And here are some of them which I found super interesting. So this idea that having all this energy and motivation and being a bit overwhelmed of what you could possibly do with it when you're back home. Then there was also the realization that maybe it's not that easy to bring about all the changes that we have in mind, that it might take a bit more time. Another idea that got back to me was that, in Paris, we thought we can conquer the world. I really loved how that was phrased. And that in the end, back home, maybe not everybody is as passionate about changing the world as we are. And finally, there's a lot going on in our own realities, which sometimes don't leave us a lot of space for changing things, for really focusing on our projects, because we might have exams or we might have our jobs and so on. So I think it's very important that we keep on coming back, connecting with each other as we are doing today. Is there anybody out there who would like to share your experience of coming home, how it was for you, how you felt? You can do that either in the written form, in the chat forum again, or as well join us as a speaker. Right, Eva? This should be technically possible.
sorry.
So if anybody would like to talk, just tell
Yes,
us
yes.
in the chat, and then we can.
Yeah. You can raise your hand
Oh,
so we can
yes,
see,
great.
yeah, we can see if you want to say something, and we can unmute you.
I'm very glad that I have you as a technical support there, Eva. All of you also, if you have questions, you can reach out to her in case it doesn't really work for you. I don't see any hands raised just yet, but you can still do that. You can also write in the chat. Yes, I see one. Hernan, I'm just unmuting you so you can talk now. Hello, Hernan?
Hello.
Hi. So tell us
Hi.
about your experience of going back.
Well, it was crazy at first. Um, we had some technical issues with our subway system, so it was a lot of people that out on the street. But beside that, it was a little difficult to debrief what had happened in Paris, because I got a lot of work to do at my office. But when I had the time finally to think about what had happened, it was good, and in some way I could put it out into our board in Santiago, in Chile. So it was a good way in order to see, okay, we got this recommendation, so now what we can do with it. And the board was really happy to see the work that we came up with, and how to implement it. And we have some reforms that are coming on. They're uh, happening now in Chile about education, for example. So we thought it was very interesting to see how we could uh, put this into the reforms or the different discussions that we have now as a country. So it was really nice to see that all that we were thinking and coming up with in this symposium in Paris could have a nice way to put it out here, to implement some of them, or at least try to shout it out loud so people can listen to and probably take it into consideration.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that, Hernan. I'm
You're
gonna
welcome.
be muting you back, so just you don't worry if we cannot hear you anymore. Wonderful. We also have some
Muted.
Right.
Unmuted.
hello.
Rahel.
Yes, I'm here again. Um, Sorry for that. I was just saying, but nobody listened to me in that moment. That Julian also shared some of his experience of going back in the chat function and saying that it was not that easy going back, although he was super inspired and motivated. But the challenge was to translate the recommendations into concrete actions. So he's trying in small ways to promote global citizenship, conversations in class or at work, um, and sharing the culture over meals and activities and peace building and so on. So that was um, very interesting. Christine is saying that it was very hard going home because she had so many ideas and didn't know where to start in creating the projects. Um, and finally, Camila also says, yes, there is so many things that she could possibly do, um, that it can be like a curse that you don't know where to begin. Thank you so much for all of you for sharing. Going forward, I would like to launch another poll. Eva, could you help me with that? So this is about your ideas, the actions that you wanted to take. How do you feel right now about them? Do you feel like you're on track, or it's going super well, or maybe you're a bit lost or don't know where to start? So just tell us a bit of how you feel. All right, how is it looking, Eva?
So we have 70% of us have voted. So let's give us 10 more seconds, 10 more seconds to reflect.
Good. We have more people who joined in the meantime, right?
Yes.
Very nice.
Okay, great. So I'm going to close the poll now and share the results.
Great. So there is a vast majority of you who believe that you're still on track, and some of you even say it's going great. I'm very happy to hear that. And for those who said, well, you're a bit lost or you're not sure where to start, I'm very happy that the second part of the webinar, when I'm going to be handing over to Guta and Eva, will focus exactly on that situation, how to start, what tools to use, and how to keep the motivation up. Before I hand over, however, I would like to ask you another question. So this time again, a question where you can just answer in the chat function. And the question would be, what kind of support would you need to keep working on these topics? Or what kind of support would you need to make your ideas happen? So to really go from ideas to change making. So please just tell us through the chat function so we can also use these feedbacks for the upcoming second part of the webinar. I guess you're all typing, so I'm just going to wait a little bit. So the question is, what kind of support can we give you to really make your ideas happen? Okay, we have a first answer here. An official relation to make it possible and real. Maybe Eva, you can tell us a bit more about that. What kind of relation could we offer? Bernd is suggesting that we could share examples of projects in other countries. I think that's a very good idea. Let's see if some more ideas are coming in. I'm sure Guto is already writing these down for his part. Sonia suggests that Facebook is a great source for exchanging information and websites we could use to follow up. I think so. That I think sharing is a great thing to do. So we could definitely keep on doing that in the future. And Eva is pointing out that the kind of relations she's looking for is connections with governments, but that could be difficult internationally. Well, Eva, I'm sure we can also help each other with creating these connections because we're already a wonderful network going to so many countries. Julian is saying that, well, he's looking for somebody to bounce his ideas, so a sparring partner. I think we can definitely offer that to you, but also you can do that to each other. Thomas would like to keep on posting things and keep on discussing. And Omer says we definitely have to increase the visibility of what has been done so far. So we can work on that all together. Okay, let's move on. I have one more slide to share with you. And there, I would like to say that heading into this webinar, I thought about looking up inspirational quote. I was thinking, well, I'm going to leave them off with a very positive feeling about the future and about making these things happen. But then when I started talking to all of you, I realized I did not need any inspirational quotes from anybody else. I could just take your quotes. So here are a couple of wonderful things that have been said to me since yesterday and today when I was reaching out to people. And with that, I would like to hand over the word to Guto.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Eva and Rahel, for starting up the webinar today. And I think we really have some very inspirational sentences here so that we can really get on to work with with the tools we will have to make the change. So this is also a very good tool to start a change, right? Inspiration. And well, so this part of the the webinar is going to talk about the tools for change making. How can we learn from others, and how can we address the oh, sorry, I think I'm changing. Oops. Okay. So how can we address the question, what should I do to start a change? This is the main question behind this session, and the idea here is to present you with a set of tools, and but mostly we want to instigate your curiosity about different styles of action planning and change making. So we hope that you can give a closer look to those tools and some other ones too that you might find afterwards, and you should decide which one fits your style better, and then you can actually get some work done. That's very interesting. And so we have selected 3 different examples that are related to different approaches to change making. And at the end of the webinar, we're going to email you some resources so that you can look for more information about each of them. So we also hope, like some of you suggested in the last question, that you could you could share with each other the tools and your results and everything you want with everybody else at Lore and Facebook. Great. So we will first present a tool that has a strong focus on entrepreneurship and leadership, which is the Ashoka Changemakers methodology. And then we will present the ALOS philosophy, which is developed by an organization called Instituto ALOS, which focus more on the communities and tries to engage them in the whole process of change. The third example, design thinking, is actually the inspiration behind the Changemakers methodology, and it focuses on problem solving and the diversity of options that you can have to solve a problem. And it fits pretty well with another known process from for AFSers and intercultural intercultural interested people everywhere, which is the cycle of code. Design thinking is a buzzword these days, so we thought it would be interesting to check it out, what it means. Great. So Ashoka is an organization that was founded in 1980, and its aim is to create a network of social entrepreneurs across business and social sectors in order to give answers to social problems. So basically their work is to inspire leaders to act upon change, and they are also engaged in educating people, especially youth people, to act until everyone is a change maker. This is one of their programs or mottos. So since 2012, AFS and the youth section of Ashoka, which is called Ashoka Youth Venture, we have begun a partnership aimed at combining the AFX experience in intercultural learning and engagement in global issues with the social entrepreneur skills from Ashoka. So imagine that, young people equipped with both entrepreneurship skills and intercultural competences. Further, inspired to act on issues with global and local resonance. Does it sound familiar for you anyhow? Great. I also found this sentence, Wanderlust and Changemaking, in a blog from Ashoka, and I think it reflects well the partnership between the two organizations. It creates a will to travel and discover the world, which is Wanderlust, and the will to change it on the way. That sounds like a very good plan. I like it. So, the main aspect of the Changemakers methodology, which is called Discovery Framework, includes some reflection to be done with a partner, So first, the two people should discover, or they should do it beforehand, but they should share about their passions and the reason behind their will to change. Why do they want to change, and why do they feel passionate about it? So the second step would be to ask questions and answer questions, actually. Answer questions about the challenges that you may face when you're trying to achieve that passion, especially what would you like to change and how would you like to do it. Those answers might help you identify problems that make things difficult, and what are the things that are being done elsewhere that can help you with your journey. The next part is then mapping the problems and solutions in a way that helps you see which actions can bring temporary relief to a problem and which actions can really change a whole system and tackle a root cause. Ideally, you should always go for the root cause, because that would mean that the problems are not like just alleviated for a moment, but they are really solved. Well, with all the ideas in hand, then you should go and look for strategies to gather resources, especially partners, organizations, or people, theories that you can use to help you out, other methodologies, and of course, money. So this is basically the methodology that they use, and I will share some more information about it afterwards, so you can look for it with more details. The next methodology was founded by was actually like developed by Instituto Elos, which is an organization that was founded in the 2000s, and they were five friends that studied together in the university, and in a class in an architecture class, they were prompted to plan a change for a community. So when they were thinking about this, they felt that they should get involved with the community beforehand in order to understand their problems and suggest a real solution, not just a solution that would work for them. It needed to work for the community too. So the object of their work is the world we dream of. And they aim to create links and relationships, that's what elos means in Portuguese, between different people with different skills to achieve it. And their motto is, where they see scarcity, we search abundance. And you will understand this in a few seconds when I share with you more details about the methodology. So basically, there are 7 stages in the ALOS methodology that are meant to be thought as a continuous cycle. You begin again each time a project is concrete, that you have something concrete about it. So the first step is look positively to add a community and try to identify resources, abilities, and possibilities and that you can find in this community. And especially, you have to strive to value the contribution of each one. Everybody has a contribution to make, and you have to find which one is it, or reflect upon it. So the second step would be to listen to the people and create relationships and build trust as a prerequisite of action. It's the affection stage. Only with this relationship and trust, you will be able to make people talk about their dreams, which are the object of the action here, and you should then you should then be able to identify which dreams are shared and which dreams are interesting for the whole group. Then you get to the care stage, which focus on planning strategies and concretizing expectations about the dreams in order to create the projects for change. In this phase, it is essential to engage as many people from the community as possible so that they can bring in their skills and resources, since the ALOS philosophy suggest that there should be no external elements to be brought at this stage. You involve a community to it, and this community has to find the resources within the community, that has to find the skills within the community to work upon the project. So that creates a very strong identification with the project, and that's why they call the next stage the miracle, which is actually the part where they're working together in the project. And they call it miracle because people get so motivated by the fact they have their hands on in the project that it seems like a very changing, a very impressive, very strong experience. So after you have finished the or completed the project, it's time to celebrate, because everything should be celebrated, and then you have to acknowledge the work that has been done and the individual effort that has been put on the project. And then you can get to the re-evolution stage, which is a transition time between one project and the next one, but then you have involved new people to work on their dreams. You have inspired these people to work on their dreams. It's a very interesting methodology, but it's also very demanding, actually. But it's fun. It's nice to think of the different possibilities. Great. The third methodology I would like to present today is design thinking, which is actually a process or a chain of thought that can be applied to any aspect in order to enable creative resolution of problems. It's used in any field, from the changemakers methodology to an industrial product or to a business strategy. It can be used overall, and also maybe to organize your room back home, which is also important when you have projects to work with. Okay, but the main idea is to work as best as possible to broaden the insights over as many possible solutions that a problem has. So it relates very well with divergent thinking. Like, you think as many options as possible, and you suggest, and the suggestion is to try the different paths to reach a solution. And as a consequence, design thinking stimulates the development of holistic approaches, because you have a more comprehensive set of options to work with. So the process has a recurring feature of broadening the scope of ideas in order to have clarity about one path to follow, and it requires you to write down all the ideas you have in order to be able to come back to them eventually. So you begin by listing your interests and concerns in order to help you define the issue you want to tackle. The next step is to do an extensive research about the chosen topic in order to see the obstacles, to check other examples that are working on the field, and to collect information from the people involved, from your partners, but also from the people that will benefit from the project you're trying to make. Then you get to the ideate stage, which should include an extensive, and by extensive I mean almost exhausting, work for searching for different solutions from many different perspectives. If you can see the cheat sheet there, in the ideate stage, you have an idea, and then you say yes, and then you go for the next idea, and then you say yes, and then you get to the next idea until you're basically full of ideas that you can analyze more carefully and then choose from them. So it's very important to keep note of every idea you have, because they are going to be useful to reevaluate your project at all times. So you choose one of those ideas you had, and you start a prototype project. And from the feedback you receive from this prototype, you remodel your project and you do multiple tests to gather data about the resins. Discussing that data with other people is a step that gets you to the first stage once again, and then you can search for a better project or even for a new one. So, as we said, this presentation was more like a preview about what you can do, and we hope that you go after more information about those tools. We will give you information per email, so don't worry much about getting all the information right now, but we wanted you to have a taste. We also hope that you can put in practice a project to make a change with any of those methodologies or other. But this is also a discussion we are having on the lab in a few minutes. Before we start that, I would like to ask you two questions, though. Well, they are in the screen right now, which is which of the tools you find most relevant and inspiring, and can you relate to any style of working? How do you think you work best with those tools? You can answer per chat, or you can also raise your hands if you want to give an account of what you think. And well, I hope you're going with writing the answers right now, and I hope to soon hear from somebody else or from somebody that has your hands on. And well, while you're thinking about your answers, I will just share with you a little bit about how I got to know this methodologies, and which is I first got to know the Alice methodology from a friend that went to a very small community next to the city, next to São Paulo, and they were there for a week, and they did a very simple project, which was actually deconstructing, I don't know, removing a building that was broken and couldn't be used anymore. But they used the material to build like a small park next to it. So now she's going for a bigger experience, which is a 1 month experience. So I think it's going to be nice. So I have some answers here. We have from Janina, thank you. I love the Ashoka approach because I think it matches AFS volunteer programs very well. Yes, that's true. That's even why we have a partnership with them. And using the energy of the volunteers to go to different countries around the world, look into the world with a fresh set of eyes. That's really nice. And I have Hernan saying that I like the last one. It seems to be better for a very large group of people. Yeah, I would tend to think that it actually appeals more to different people. Each of those methodologies appeals more for each type of people, because some people like to work better in a group, and some people like to like to have this whole brainstorming before they start hands-on, and some people like to go straight to action. So basically, there are many ways to get to change, and you only have to choose one that fits you well. So you shouldn't worry about, oh, which one is best suitable to this or that. You should just like go with your gut feeling and say, oh, this looks like one that could work with the problem I want to work with. So I'll start with that one. So I think we can also have some more participation in the lab that we're going to begin now. So I thank you all for the answers. And there is one more answer here. I love Ashoka's approach because in AFS we work with them and they have really interesting ideas. This is from AFS Argentina because they are um, they are one of the countries that are participating in the partnership with Ashoka. So I will pass the word to Eva so that she can go on with the lab, and I hope that you can enjoy the change making.
Great. Thank you, Guto. Just one quick comment for the AFS crowd. I will share with you a short video that AFS New Zealand has made about their collaboration with Ashoka. So I know that some of you are very familiar with the Ashoka and maybe some of you are not so much. So I'll make this available so that you can get a little better understanding of what does it actually look like, this collaboration. Yes, well, let's move to our lab. And the first question I want to raise for us is that there already are things happening. I am aware of the things I have done myself, but I also know that the others have been doing different smaller or bigger actions as a follow-up to our in-person meeting. So I want to tell you briefly how we worked with the recommendations here at AFS International and also what we are planning to do. So we have reviewed them after we have shared them with the AFS network, and we also are going to talk about them with my colleagues from the education team. So we're going to take a look at them and identify what are the concrete points which we think are the most relevant for us to actually work with within our organization. And we are planning also to prepare a background document for the Board of Trustees so that they also have some more input that they can discuss this at their meeting at the end of January. I also was in touch with some partner offices who have requested this material, and I will also be sending it to all partner organizations specifically that have sponsored someone to come to Paris, so we can have a little more connection. And there was one more thing that I wanted to say. Well, it will come in a moment. I also know that many of you already did the similar thing, sharing the recommendations, discussing it with others. The one group that also have been working more specifically and has shared a little bit on lore about this are the facilitators and the prep team members. And I will just ask Rahel to talk briefly about what you have been doing as a follow-up. What kind of action have you been taking?
Yes, thank you, Eva. I'm happy to be back. So during the week in Paris, during the symposium, but also the workshops, we have been working so hard on these recommendations, and in the discussions, we realized that a lot of this also applies to AFS. So we looked at how global citizenship education should be promoted by different stakeholders, but we didn't have enough time to think on how this applies to AFS. So as a group of facilitators, we decided to take these different discussions and to take this topic further. And we're now at the moment drafting a letter to the Board of Trustees where we make suggestions on how AFS should look like in our eyes in the next 100 years. And we would like to then distribute this letter. It's an open letter, and ask all of you to sign it, because hopefully you're going to agree with the points that we're raising, which deal with things like diversity and giving grassroots volunteers a voice, and really using all that we have to have an impact and to be real change makers. And so that will happen in the next 1 or 2 months. You're going to hear from us, and we would be very happy to have your signature before we then send the letter to the Board of Trustees.
Thank you, Rahel. And I can already see comments, and I was going to ask if anybody has any comments. Also, if you want to share what you did so far. And again, this is something that we want to stress here. It's really also the small actions that count. So we are not expecting that you have a large plan for an international project that will run in 2015 ready, but we think also to keep the spirit going, it's just good to plan for small actions and take some small actions. So again, in the chat, if you would like to share with us right now what you have done, or what you have heard that others have done, it's the time now. And again, you can also use your hand, your virtual hand, raise it, and we'll give you space to talk. And again, while we are all thinking, I'm going to actually go in the next step and move to the next slide. And there's just 2 quick suggestions, and then I would like to open the floor for everyone to share their ideas about actions they want to take. The one thing that already was mentioned by one of you in the questions is that it's really helpful, and I think inspiring to use the community that we have established together, and that is the emails, using email to inform each other about things that are happening, but also especially the Facebook group, as this is one of the most easiest way to communicate. And you know, even if it's a small idea you have, or if it's some suggestion that that we as the team should do, or that you know, you have an idea that you want to invite others to collaborate on, this is very powerful if we can keep the space for sharing these ideas. And another point we want to mention is how we work with the recommendations. I was recently talking with one of my colleagues, and he was telling me, yeah, I have to take a look at the document again, because you know, like none of the ideas there realistic. Like I don't recall anything from top of my head right now. And I think this is also our responsibility in a way to take a look, to revisit the recommendations and see what are the main messages for you as an individual that you want to pass on, and in a way translate them. So maybe, you know, sometimes it's going to kind of make them a little bit shorter. Sometimes you will need to give some more background and then share it with others, so that we kind of work with the fact that, you know, also having this 4 or 6 pages long document is not something that is the format that is accessible for everyone. So I think that's for me one of the other kind of small things to think of, and yeah, an idea. And then you can see that then there's more options, of course, and I can already see that we have some comments in the chat. So Thomas was commenting before that he likes the plan that Rahel was talking about, and then he posed a question. It was mentioned that not everybody has access to Facebook. I was wondering what you mean by that. Who doesn't have access? To my understand, yeah, good, already answered. To my understanding, it was our participant from China. So we suggest to continue using Facebook for now, and we can also work with our Chinese friend to see if she can have access as well, because we know there are ways how to do that. And then Julianne wrote, I support the work of the prep team and facilitators in drafting the letter. Some good ideas about how to improve AFS came up during the UNESCO symposium, so it's good that they are being noted down and sent to AFS International for the consideration of the board of directors. Okay, great. So again, support to this existing ideas. I would like to invite you again, even we have 5 minutes or three to 5 minutes left. If any of you would like to say a few words, and we already had the first speaker, so you don't have to be shy. Anybody would like to share with others what's their thinking or what's their ideas for action? You can raise your hand. Ah, I see. Hernan, great. So I'm unmuting you, and please go ahead.
Hi again. When we had the discussion board meeting, we came up with 2 lines of actions. One, within our organization, in Chile, how we can recommendation working.
Sorry, Han, I think we can't hear you.
Oh.
Hernan, maybe can you type in the question field or in the chat field, because we have trouble hearing you.
Okay, I'm gonna do that.
But you can try speaking now. Maybe it's gonna work. Let's see.
Okay, we established 2 lines of action during our last meeting. One within AFS in Chile. So what it's established this recommendation
So the connection is getting bad again, unfortunately. What I've heard is Hernan was saying that they established 2 groups, one of them internal, and I would assume the other one was external, but maybe I would let Hernan to write his input in the chat box, and you can also post it on Facebook so we can have a full understanding of what's your plan. Thank you for that. The virtual internet connection gods are not with us for right now. I'm looking at the chat again. So Julian is planning to write a report on the symposium and the recommendations for the newsletter block of the Geneva model of the UN to share some of the ideas with other young people interested in global citizenship in Geneva. Great. So lots of ideas also going outside of our organizations, which I think is especially relevant. So we know that this is not the end for the discussion, and we would like to also offer you one tool that I will be sharing with everyone tomorrow on Monday in an email also, where we share some more materials that were mentioned today by Guto. So if we go to the next slide, we know that each of you have your own way how you do things, how you plan things, but we want to suggest one very simple tool for action planning, which is specifically tailored to our situation. And some of the questions that are in this action plan template would be, what change do I want to see? Or in other words, what impact do I want to have? So again, looking at the big picture, what is it that I want to see change at the end of my activity? Also, it's important that we don't do things alone. And I can speak for myself now. For example, preparing this webinar, it's a totally different experience when you work together with others. So this is the second question we want you to think about: is who am I going to work with, and who are my allies? Who are the people that can support me? Also, to think about the time frame. Is it something I can achieve in a short time? Is it something I want to work on as a lifetime project, or maybe in the next year? Also, what kind of resources will you need? And again, a little bit related to the support, what help do you need and who could provide that help? So have this reflection already in the planning stage. And then just to make it more easier to grasp, the last question would be, what are the first 3 steps I will take to achieve my goal, to start my action? As I said, we will share with you a little template that you can use for yourself. We also invite you to then connect with others from this group, but also anybody else who you trust, who you work with, who is your friend or a volunteer that you work with, and you can discuss your plan and in a way do some kind of a peer-to-peer review. And please also feel free to approach us, the team, if you want to ask us for feedback. That's of course another option. And what we will do afterwards is that we will ask you or invite you. It's of course something we cannot demand, but we will ask you to share your action plan with others so that we can inspire each other and support each other in this way. And I see that we have some more answers, more questions. So going back to Hernan, he was saying that they have 2 lines of action after their board met. One is within our organization and the other one with different stakeholders. Great. And Julian was posting about there was a peace building forum in Geneva a couple of weeks ago, and they asked questions to some of the participants about the role of education in promoting peace building and the role of religious organization in this work. Learned about interesting projects going on in different places, such as with madrasas in Morocco and Pakistan. Wow, great. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing all this, and I hope we can continue this sharing and this discussion within our community and continue inspiring each other. I know we are a little bit over time now. I have one more poll for you. Before that, is there any burning question from anyone? And again, you can either use the chat or you can raise your hand and talk. If not, if we go to the next slide, we have, oh, so I don't see my, I don't see the poll here. So I was going to invite everyone for the first action, and that was the question about what action are you planning to take? But I can see that this this question hasn't uploaded in my system. So maybe if we can, yeah, well, I had some options for you, but let me just read it for you, and you can, maybe we can, you know what, I will open this survey on Facebook, in the Facebook group, also after others have the access to the recording. I apologize for that. That is some technical difficulties that we sometimes encounter. But I was going to ask you if you are planning to share and discuss the recommendations with others from your organization, but also externally, or if you're planning to take some local action, starting some international action or collaboration, or share your action plan with everybody else. So let's do it this way. Let's start the poll later on in our Facebook group, and let's have some more time to reflect about what each of you want to do. One last thing I would like to say is that I know that in the tracks, some of your facilitators are planning to do a webinar specifically focusing on some topic that you discussed in your tracks, and we will also invite you to actually run your own webinars, because we know there's a lot of people who actually have an experience that they want to share with others. And we will try to create some structure for that, so that it happens. But also, it's a lot up to you. If you want to create a webinar, let us know, and we can create some kind of a project group that can work on this, because I think this, for me personally, it has been very informative and rewarding to spend this time together, even though it's just online and we cannot really see and touch each other in person. Okay, well, I'll just give the opportunity to Rahel or Guto if they want to say a few words.